Thank you, Mr. Chair. Administrator, could you just clarify that last answer? Would you be, is the Shelter and Services Program diverting dollars from otherwise, or is this allocated, appropriated dollars into that program that you don't, it's in there, you don't control?
The Shelter and Services Program was an additional allocation to our budget specifically for that program and not diverted from other programs.
So you didn't divert money from other programs?
We did not.
FEMA. Speaking of which, other programs, back to the Disaster Relief Fund. I understand you're implementing cost-saving measures until Congress passes supplemental disaster funding. There are quite a number of projects. You noted the number, I noted the number that are being delayed in terms of funding. One of which is in Whatcom County in my district, and we can all talk about our district. But for Washington State, that one program, the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program funding delay is a little over 10% of the total amount in Washington State. So can you elaborate a little bit on the urgent need for supplemental funding, but how delaying projects that are funded in different programs can't be funded because of the delay in the problem with the Disaster Relief Fund?
With the current health of the Disaster Relief Fund, again, we've been watching this very closely throughout the year and made the determination to implement immediate needs funding because our focus and our priority needs to make sure that we always have the resources available to support life safety, life-sustaining activities.
Right.
And through immediate needs funding, that's what we're able to do. What we do is delay the obligations for some of this other work. It doesn't mean that the work necessarily stops. It just means that we cannot reimburse jurisdictions for the costs that they incur as a result of that until the DRF is replenished.
Is that because money is reimbursed out of the DRF?
It is reimbursed out of the DRF.
So if it's funded through the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, which is for Whatcom County, that's what I believe where those dollars are coming from. Those dollars are spent down, or does the DRF fund the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program?
Our Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, as well as our Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities Program, are both funded out of the Disaster Relief Fund.
Okay.
And I think one of the things that we will see is smaller jurisdictions that aren't getting reimbursed for their projects, they're not going to be able to continue some of the work because of cash flow issues. And so they'll need the reimbursement for these types of projects so they can continue the work. Even though we don't stop the work, it's really upon them to figure out how they can continue to manage the work being done until they can get reimbursed with the Disaster Relief Fund once it's replaced.
Yeah, and just other jurisdictions have this challenge, and Whatcom County does not have $8.6 million sitting around to continue that work to wait. Even, noting one, it's not my district, but Thurston County's Fire District 3 is waiting on $859. Now, they might be able to find it, but my guess is it's probably a rural fire district as well. So there's quite a range of communities that are being challenged here. On BRIC, you both recently announced, and thank you for getting these BIL dollars out the door. We authorized the STORM program and funded it. And you, 2 weeks ago, announced the first $50 million for STORM. Is that right? Did I got the number right?
Yep, correct. We issued the first $50 million under the STORM Revolving Loan Fund, a new program and a new type of program for FEMA. To jurisdictions, and again, this was oversubscribed, but we're really excited about the ability that this program is going to do to help jurisdictions with their cost share portion of some of these very difficult hazard mitigation projects so they can continue to build resiliency in their communities.
Yeah, could you talk a little bit, just briefly, about that? Because I think it's important to understand all this discussion, the challenges you have on climate change, challenges you have with the DRF, the challenges you have ensuring we're doing mitigation and resilience, three big themes that I heard from you today. How STORM and the new money that we put in BRIC is helping you achieve maybe at least the mitigation and resilience and helping you turn the corner on what FEMA is all about.
Yeah, Ranking Member Larsen, we are absolutely seeing an increase in the intensity, the severity, the length of recovery, the complexity of the types of severe weather events that we're responding to. And we will continue to respond to these events, but we have got to build resilience in these communities to reduce the impact from these events. And the way we do that is through our mitigation programs, whether that's our HMGP program, which is funded after a disaster, where states and jurisdictions have funding after a disaster strikes, or our BRIC program, which can provide funding for pre-disaster helping them identify what types of projects are going to help make them more resilient. But we know that these projects can be very expensive, and they all come with a cost share. And many of our jurisdictions do not have the funding necessarily to come up with that cost share. And where the STORM program really makes a difference is it can help a jurisdiction through this revolving loan fund to be able to complete these projects and come up with their match, or do other projects that maybe aren't going to be funded under one of the federal programs. It's a critical tool to help communities achieve the level of resilience that they're going to need to have as we face a future of climate-related events that is increasing the impacts that we're seeing to communities across the nation.
Thank you. And just quickly, Ms. Chair, if you'll just indulge me, in 2022, Washington State had 662 fires, according to our state DNR. This year, to this date, Washington State has 1,855 fires that our state Department of Natural Resources have responded to. So at least for one state, wildfires are increasing. I just wanted to make sure that got established, at least for my state. With that, I yield back.
Chair thanks the gentleman, and the chair now thanks her correction.